Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a special show because normally I stream in the evening on Tuesdays, which is a terrible time for everyone in the UK. And since today I have a guest from the UK, I'm streaming early, so I'm especially glad to have everyone in the chat that is from the UK. I know Critical Cripple is there and he's from the UK. I see Brian Stevens, but I have no idea where Brian Stevens lives. So welcome to everyone who's here. Today we are meeting Esther, the African Humanist. Hello, Esther.
Hello, Godless Body.
And we have a bit of a lag here. I'm not sure exactly why it is, but I am not even seeing Esther move until a few seconds after she starts to speak. So if you see us talking over each other, we are experiencing some lag here. And then always it's good to have my co-host Kitty with me.
Hello,
Kitty, you're muted. Okay. Oh, Kitty. Is that your reveal? Kitty, we can't hear you.
Yeah, no,
there
glad
we go.
to be here. Sorry, I'm getting used to the dual monitor, so I had to drag my mouse, which was over on this monitor, to the little one that I have here, because I've got the stream over here, and then I've got StreamYards over here, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that your reveal?
Here's my reveal that I teased you earlier. I love it.
Wonderful. Oh, if I know that was it. I've got one in the kitchen and I would go get it, but I don't want to leave the show to go get it. But yes, I have one. Mine is purple.
See, I mean, black, like my, gothic little heart, but,
Yep. Well, thank you so much. And Matt will thank you also, because Matt, who draws all my grading art, is I give him all the profits from the Teespring line.
Aw, well, I'm glad to have contributed, my little bit here. But yeah, no, I was super excited when it came. And I was like, okay, next time I'm on Gigi's channel, I gotta have a drink. Like, I have a Pepsi over here, but I'm not even touching it. I was just like, I just need water. I just need something to put in this damn cup.
Well, thank you so much for supporting my Teespring line. I've got a couple more
people to the UK.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
To the UK. Do you ship to the UK the mugs?
I don't know if Teespring does or not, but I can look for you.
I think they do. I don't know. But I also want to say hello to more people that have shown up in the chat. Epileptic Skeptic is here. Brainbug is here. Nerdy Rodent is here. Never Again is here. And thank you so much all for joining me. So before we get started, we have to ask Kitty, what is in your cup? What are you drinking?
It is literally just water. Because like I wasn't like cold enough or really feeling any tea or anything like that. So and I didn't want to pour my soda in there, and I need to be drinking more water. So you are contributing to me hydrating better. So I thank you. Cheers.
Very good. I have water also. And Esther, what is in your cup?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay.
Yeah, I wish. But yes, okay. It does look like, Teespring does ship to the UK and the EU as well, according to their website. So there you go.
Okay, so the major purpose of today's show was so that we could meet Esther, get to know Esther a little bit more. Esther is new to the atheist community, so we all need to welcome her. Hello, Esther. Everyone wave at Esther. and we need to let her feel welcome. And she also has some questions for us about how you deal with people in your life who are having a problem with your deconversion. So first, Esther, I'm just going to let you have some time to tell a little bit about your story, your background, and how you got to where you are and where you are right now.
Hello, Goddess Bunny. So, I've been a Christian all my life. Born into a Christian home, always went to church, sang in choirs. Just it's been church nearly all my life. And my formative years, I lived in Nigeria before I came to the United Kingdom. And I've lived here now for nearly 20 years. And I've only ever known the African church, vibe and really loud. And so I thought, hey, that was life. That was you either were a Christian or a Muslim. That in Nigeria, you're either a Christian or a Muslim. I knew there were other things, but just never explored or asked any questions. I just would just go with the flow. But then there were things that didn't make sense. There were things that just weren't adding up. But you were expected to just go with the flow, just do what you're told. You're not supposed to ask any questions. And I just would go with the flow. And when I was going back about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago now, I changed Church of England, and it was very different. It's nice, different, very quiet, and very complete opposite of where I was coming from, the African church. And I was wondering, why are they so different? I really loved the church, really loved the community, because I was at the time went through a really bad divorce, and the church were very supportive. They were very, hands on, and they were there. They would listen, but then there were questions that just never went away, and I I think what really got me was, why the huge difference? If they're all Christians, why do we have so many differences in doctrines and differences in the way they worship and the beliefs? So the vicars, both of them, were really good people. I would go and sit with them. I go and ask questions. So I'm an atheist today because I dared to ask. I'm an atheist today because I dared to think. And so some things just didn't make sense. And one of the things was when the vicar said to me, I went to the vicar and I wanted to know, what did he think was Jesus's ethnicity? Because I've only ever grown up knowing Jesus as with his blonde hair, blue eyes. And the vicar told me Jesus wasn't white. And the church needs to apologize for that. I was gobsmacked. I was taken aback. What? You mean Jesus wasn't white? He said no. He went as far as saying some people actually think that Jesus was a black Rastafarian. And so I said, if they could lie about that one thing, what else could they be lying about? And so I explored. Just constant. Every Monday evening, I'm on the atheist experience. I'm on Talk Heathen. I'm on. I'm always there. So it's been a journey for the last 2.5 years.
Have you watched Apologia at all?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he is the
And
best for the new atheist that's just starting to learn what some of the things, I don't want to say lies because it's not always lies. Sometimes it's just, a shading of the truth or hiding portions of the truth, that I think that he does a really good job of bringing out, and his research goes really in depth.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and lots of people. I just would YouTube became my friend, and my son, my younger one asked me, says, "Mom, you're always watching atheist programs, always." That's all I do because I want to know the truth. I'm not happy to just sit and let someone tell me what to think, what to believe, or what to. No, I want to know why, how, where, when. And so, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I get into an argument with Christians frequently about is they will tell me, well, I know God is right because I can feel it. And if you would just read it, you'll see it. And I said, I've read it. And what, well, you didn't read it right. You have to believe it well while you read it. And I said, are you trying to say that you have to believe it before you can see it? They said, yes, that's it. You have to believe it before you can see it. And I said, if you have to believe it before you can see it, how do you know you're not seeing it because you believe it? And instead of seeing it because it's real. And that's always the end of the conversation. I never hear from them again.
Self-delusion is a very powerful thing. And I think a lot of it comes down to that, where you can convince yourself of a lot of things, good or bad. And if something requires you to convince yourself that it's real rather than actually being demonstrably real, something that you can actually either prove or demonstrate in, a controlled setting, then there's no way to know that it's actually real. So why bother deluding yourself in the first place?
And going to the community aspect, Esther, have you met Dave, Critical Cripple?
I've just recently came across Dave.
Okay. The reason I bring up
Oh,
Dave is because Dave is really good for getting a lot of people in the community together. And his shows don't focus so much on atheism. His shows focus more on just community and having fun together. He does a show called Critical Questions, in which he has a panel of 6 people that just answer ridiculous questions. And it's a lot of fun, and the people in the chat get to answer the questions too. I would recommend watching his show and answering some of the questions in the chat, and maybe even getting on that show. And I think you will start to feel some of the sense of community in the atheist community that you had in the Christian community. Brainbug says, I've met Dave.
He has made me one of the mods. He's made me one of the mods on his show. I've been in
Oh,
the chat.
nice.
I've been there. I'm one of the mods.
Okay, very good. Very good.
I mean, I'll put forward that I think the hardest thing for people when they leave religion is that loss of community, because church is a wonderful sense of community. And the fact that a lot, in my experience, of churches, once you leave, they no longer want to be community with you. You know, you're now the outsider, the outcast. But I'll also say that I don't think there's anything that, you know, religions and churches do that humanists and you know, secular humanists, atheists, we can do it as well or better, because there's no self-delusion required. We can still have community. We can still help the community do good works. And I honestly don't think there's anything left for religion to do in this world that non-religious entities can't accomplish just as well or better.
Mhm. Right now, we are not as organized as they are because they've got hierarchies that have been in existence sometimes for centuries. And in the Catholic Church, you know, for over a millennia. Um, and we are just kind of scattered here and there, and we've got our little groups here and there. And but yeah, there is definitely a community here as well.
But the thing is, atheism is not a religion.
No, it's not.
So I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we become a like the church, if you know what I mean. Because being an atheist is more self-directed.
Yeah. And the one thing the church gives you that atheism will never give you is the church gives you a feeling that there's a life after death. But I also think that's one of the dangers of the church, because with that idea that there's a life after death, that's the one you need to be living for, and this life is just a preparation for that one. You don't take this life seriously. You know, this is just this is just a test. This is just getting ready for the life that's to come. And I think
Transitional stage.
yeah. And I think when you realize that there is no afterlife, there is no heaven, you take this life much more seriously.
Absolutely. And I think I lost my mom last year, and some people think I'm an atheist because I lost my mom. But I was on the journey before she died. I worried how I was going to come out to her and tell her I don't believe this anymore. So when she passed, it was really hard because I was now dealing with grief as an atheist. And I get people telling me, oh, don't worry, you'll meet her in the afterlife. Someone said to me, don't worry, she's in heaven. No, they said, don't worry, at least you've assurance that your mom is not in hell, that she is in heaven. It felt very insensitive at the time. I felt like, no. But then slowly, just getting used to the fact that this is it. This is what we've got. And the hell concept was something that I really struggled with because hell was introduced to me as a child. We would be taken to church, film night. We'll go and watch the Burning Hell, where you would go when you die. And so when I watched Matt saying, which hell? Which one? Everyone has a hell. And you haven't considered everyone's version of hell. And I thought, oh, really? That's true. I never considered this. And now hell doesn't scare me anymore because I don't believe in that. And that was huge. That was a huge thing to get over.
I'm sorry, I'm reacting to what Brainbug has just said here, which is absolutely horrendous. The guy who spoke at my dad's funeral told us he was in hell. How horrible. Brainbug, I am so sorry that that happened to you. That is absolute. How insensitive can any?
That's just straight up disgusting, honestly.
Yeah, that
There are no words.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I am so sorry that that happened to you, Brainbug. Yeah, Esther, Aaron Ra has a video where he talks about that a little bit, where he talks about how chaplains for hospitals have been had to be told how to deal with atheists because they would go in and someone's passed away and their next of kin is an atheist, and they say, well, your loved one is in a better place. And the atheists are getting furious with the chaplains, and they've had to been told, no, you don't tell that to an atheist, because the atheist reaction is 6 feet underground is a better place. Yeah, tell me about it. And so it's really better for us to focus on that your loved one is no longer in pain.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people right before they die are in so much pain that at least they're no longer in pain.
That their suffering has come to an end. That is something theists and atheists alike can take comfort in, regardless of what their individual beliefs are. It's a good blanket statement for most situations anyway.
And I think that's where some people think that an atheist, um, you're not getting a good life because what have you got to live for? You haven't got the afterlife. You haven't got heaven. You're not thinking about. But a Christian hasn't thought about all the rules that you need to follow to get to heaven. It's like going. The Bible says it that it will take, what was it? I forgot the scriptures now. But the rules to get to heaven, it's incredible. How is anyone
Mm-hmm.
going to even get there?
Mm-hmm. And that's why, Pascal's wager is so ridiculous. Yeah, Brainbug brought that up too. Pascal's wager is not a dichotomy. That it's not okay if you believe you go to heaven, and if you don't believe you go to hell. It's if you believe and you're Catholic and you followed all the rules for the Catholic and you get there and you got the right God, you're in. But if you believed in Catholicism and you die and sorry, it was Confucius, you got the wrong one. Too bad. And with the hundreds of gods out there, what are the chances of guessing and getting the right one? One of the things that really gets me, though, is the way that Christians say that so many other Christians aren't real Christians. They're fake. And especially Protestants, a lot of Protestants say that Catholics are not real Christians. And if Catholics are not real Christians, that's half of all the Christians. That puts, the Christians only make up about a third of the world. And if half of those aren't real Christians, then only about 15% of the population. And then you look at it, you say, if your God is really concerned with everybody, why is he only saving such a small percentage of the people?
I put up a post on my Instagram and Facebook, and it was Pope Francis assures atheists you don't have to believe in God to go to heaven. And somebody said, "Oh, the Pope is going to hell anyway."
Yeah.
Like, Christians can't agree. What's what.
Now I
And
don't.
when you go to
Sorry.
Africa and see what Christians do, there's a video. I put it up today on my YouTube, and this man is claiming to be a prophet. He's calling on Jesus, and he is doing money rituals to make his followers become millionaires, all in the name of Jesus.
I seem to recall something about, a camel through the eye of a needle, rich man into heaven, just saying.
Yeah, I didn't really get hung up on the whole hell thing. And I think part of it might be because I was not raised in the religion. I didn't come to the concept of hell. I mean, I knew that people believed it, but I didn't believe it myself until I was 16. And that I did believe that it was real. I did believe that it was a real place. I did believe that it was a place of eternal torture. But when when my faith started breaking down, that was one of the first things that started breaking down for me. Because I started thinking about it, and that was part of it. What I just mentioned is, why is God only saving a very small percentage of the people if he actually cares? And because of my strong belief that God is love, that the dissonance in believing God is love, but God is making all these people and sending them to hell. I couldn't reconcile that, especially because I was a Calvinist, which said that whether or not you were saved was determined before the foundation of the world. You have no choice in the matter. God made the choice. And if it's completely God's choice, is you have no control over it whatsoever, why would God make 70% of all sentient beings for the purpose of destroying them? That made no sense. And so I started kind of coming up with my own religion, that maybe there was a second chance, that after you die and you come before God, then God will ask, would you like to come into heaven? And at that point you can declare, yeah, that's what I want. I'll come live in heaven with you. And so at that point, hell kind of became unreal to me, in that I kind of went to, why would anyone believe this? Yeah, I like that one, Kitty.
That about sums it up for me as far as, Christianity. And it reminds me very much of an abusive relationship. I mean, having survived one, like, there are parallels that, I see that can be drawn, where it's, you're constantly seeking forgiveness for things that really you shouldn't need to seek forgiveness for, like, being yourself or loving yourself or other natural things, like eating bacon. Eating bacon is a natural thing because bacon is amazing, and any religion that will tell me no can't be for me. But no, honestly, like jokes aside, it saddens me not only that people get into this trap of self-delusion, and then they do these, reinforcing, like, reinforcing their beliefs and thought stopping techniques to, whenever they start to stray or have questions, because religion, it's not about giving you, correct answers. It's about giving you just some answers that you're never supposed to question. And critical thinking and religion are antithetical to each other. And that's just sad.
Before Jesus, there was no concept of hell. The Jews had Sheol, but they didn't really consider that to be hell. That wasn't a place you went for eternal punishment.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure how times, but hell is not something there's not a lot of information about hell in the Bible. And so to make it such a huge deal when the Bible doesn't even make it a big deal, but why people push that and teach that to children?
Mm-hmm. I remember once when I was leading a children's group, and my partner uh, told the Easter story with these eggs that you open up, and each one had a different object inside that had something to do with the Easter story. And when she got near the end of the story and she pulled out this little tiny cat o' nine tails and described how Jesus was beaten, and she was describing what a cat o' nine tails is and how it was tearing into his flesh. And these children were 5 years old, and some of the children started crying, and she realized she had gone too far, that that they were not emotionally ready for this. And yeah, that's something that religion does. It teaches children to be afraid of. And that's another thing that's kind of weird. Why would you need to be afraid of this God that's supposed to be love?
Like
I
my
love you,
son
fear
was
me.
my son was 9 years old, and he said to me, "Mom, I'm no longer a Christian." And I said, "What? No, no, you are a Christian. You can't not be a Christian." So I asked further, "Why are you not?" He says, "Nah." He said, "Mom, I don't like blood, and I heard that Jesus had died for me to be a Christian." So anyway, I just shoved it on it and just said, "Don't think about it." I said, "You like Christmas?" He said, "Yes, he loves Christmas." I said, "The whole idea behind Christmas is because of Jesus." So, and then that thing my son said got me thinking, why did why did anybody have to be sacrificed? Because my vicar said, focus more on what Jesus came to do. But hang on a second. Jesus was sacrificed. It's barbaric. This is barbaric. How God would send his son to be sacrificed. I think about it now and I think, no, the religion is just blood.
Hmm.
Because they have to drink, you have to drink the wine and the bread and just carry on the ritual.
And the Catholics believe that through transubstantiation at communion, that the bread and the wine turns into the actual body and blood of Jesus. And they truly believe that they are eating God's flesh and drinking God's blood.
There's something wrong with that.
Hmm. The book Angela's Ashes tells the story. Frank McCourt, it's his autobiography. He grew up in Ireland, and he tells the story. I can't remember if it was typhoid. He had some kind of serious illness as a child. And at his first communion, he came home and he vomited. And everyone was in a tizzy because he vomited, and the communion wafer came up. And so his mother had to run back to the church and say, "I've got Jesus in my backyard. What do I do?" And I just found the whole thing so funny. Maybe we can bring on the second coming of Jesus by having everybody just take a bunch of of communion wafers that have been blessed and turned into the flesh and said, "There, Jesus is here. He's come back."
I've got a question to ask.
Okay.
When you became an atheist, did you ever look back and ask yourself, how did I believe those things? Because when I look back now, I've still got my Bible. I've got all my Bibles. I haven't got rid of any of them. And I think, how did I believe that? I see the loopholes. I see the contradictions. I see everything. But how did I believe that?
I do, but I also know the answer to that question. And the answer is that at 16, I was desperate. And I was trying to survive. And I was trying to find a way forward with life. And Christianity offered me, a hand at that. I've always been something of a loner. I have very few friends. Outside of the YouTube community, if you want to talk about real people, I have one friend. And because I don't have a lot of people to turn to in my life, when I did become desperately depressed, religion offered me a community. It offered me support. And so I took it. And so because of what they did for me in helping me hold myself together, I listened to everything they said and believed every word of it, thinking, if they've got this together, they must know what they're talking about. And there were times early in my faith that I really worried about deconverting. And I even talked to a couple of friends saying, don't ever let me change my mind. Don't let me go back. That passed fairly quickly, but at times when things were rough, I would always remind myself that the Bible is the foundation of my faith, and that I believe the Bible. I believe that it is 100% true, and from that I can build. And so the Bible was always the foundation, and it was when the Bible was proven to me to be untrue that the whole house of cards just collapsed. Purple is a lot smarter than me. Purple says I was questioning Bible stories by the time I was 8.
Actually, I'm kind of with Purple here. Like, I was raised Catholic, and then I read the Bible when I was around 9 or 10, and I was like, I don't like this. This doesn't make sense. Like, I noticed a few things where it would say one thing first and then it would say another thing later. So I left Christianity at that point and started doing soul searching for a different religion, because I still believed in a higher power, and almost became a Buddhist, actually, because of my neighbor, but settled on Wicca. So polytheism, paganism, and I was that for many years. And it's funny, like, I kept up with the ritual, and I found it was easy to go from the rituals of Catholicism to the rituals of Wicca, because there was like a similar structure to some of it. And it was when I joined an e-cigarette forum that I actually first heard the word atheist, when I got involved in one of the subforums talking about politics. And I met a guy there, and he's like, yeah, I'm an atheist. And I had never heard the word before. I thought I knew what it meant, and I went and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm an atheist. Like, I had already stopped believing in all of the gods and like the woo. But I didn't have a title for it yet. And that was in my early 20s when I was like, yeah, okay, I'm an atheist. And that's at that point I started, actively living, openly as an atheist. But I did still hang on to, a lot of the tenets of Wicca, because like the main thing is do what ye will, harm none, and a reverence for nature, female empowerment, and so I love all of that. But it's, I'm an atheist witch. Like I don't actually believe in magic or woo or gods or anything like that. But it's nice, like and it fits my little dark like Halloween all year like heart.
I'd like to go back to a comment that Dave made a bit ago. David said, "You just assume somebody smarter than you that has already figured it out, so you don't have to worry about it." And David is absolutely right. And a big part of it for me was the people that I was listening to in the Christian community were very intelligent people, and the people that I was hearing argue against them were all saying that Christians are a bunch of idiots because they espouse such ridiculous ideas. But I was reading the more intelligent of the Christians. I was reading John Piper, Mark Knoll, Tim Keller, Wayne Grudem, and I was not looking at Warren and Strobel and what's his name? Case for Christ, not Case for Christ. That's Strobel. The cold case detective Warner, J. Warner Wallace. I would not have given those people a second thought because to me they were second class. And it was more the seminary professors that I was listening to. And I felt like if I had a question, that these people understood something that I didn't, and so I kept looking to them for answers.
So the reason why I've decided to start the YouTube channel is just I can see a lot of things are just so ridiculous with the religion, especially the African and mainly Nigerian Christianity. And just I want to start speaking about it and highlighting these issues. In Nigeria or in Africa, a pastor can tell a member that your mother is a witch and your mother is the one who's making you not successful. Your mother is behind every bad thing happening to you. And people believe this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have beaten their mothers. Some people have killed family members. All this stuff. And it's ridiculous. You have pastors saying, God told me. And people don't question. When the pastor says, it is God, how people just don't, it's ridiculous. So what do you say to that, Granny?
I don't really know why it is like that. Why some people hold so strongly to what a pastor will say, although I do know that I have done that myself. And I know that for me personally, I was usually holding on to what they said because they had done something for me or helping me hold myself together emotionally. And so because of that, I felt that they had something. I felt that they knew something. I also had respect for the study that they had done in seminary, and felt that because of that they understood more than I did. What I found absolutely mind-boggling, the video that I did quite recently, 11 Pipers Piping, where John Piper talks about his days in seminary and how he was learning from German scholars, and they were telling him, well, this might be what Jesus said, and this may be what was meant by the scripture. And he was just blown away. How can people dedicate their lives to maybe and probably And I found it mind-blowing that Piper set up that question and then abandoned the question without ever answering it. And I was thinking, you've just laid out a question that destroys your entire life's work. And then instead of answering the question, you turned away and started talking about something else. And I know exactly why Piper did it, because there is no answer.
No.
Phony Beetle Maniac said something a minute ago that I wanted to pull up, and I lost track of it. Here it is. There's a spelling error in it, but we'll just ignore that. The atheist conversation was about when I questioned why we should treat people who have religion worse than we treat ourselves, and never got an answer for that. Yeah, I see that on both sides, you know. I see that more from the Christian side, though, because I see a lot of pastors encouraging their congregations to treat atheists as idiots and as people that don't have the answers and people don't know, and treat their own congregations as you know something that they don't. You've got something that they need, and they do give them a feeling of superiority. And I think that is one of the things that holds I think that is one of the things that holds people into the Christian community, is the feeling that you are somehow superior because you have this.
Everyone wants to feel special. And I can't tell you how many congregations I know of here in Florida where not only, not being, the same denomination of Christianity isn't enough. If you don't go to their specific church, you are not saved, and they will not associate with you. I lost a friend in high school. Like, his family would invite me to church services with them, and I would go. I mean, at this point, I was solidly pagan, but I wasn't against anyone's religion, and I actually liked seeing what different people believed. I liked studying different religions, and they thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, until they realized that I wasn't actually, going to join their church, and that I wasn't actually a Christian, and they actually forbade their son from spending time with me. And he was one of my good, dear friends in high school. And we ended up we ended up drifting apart because we weren't allowed to hang out together any longer.
Mm.
So
Um,
I went on my Facebook and Instagram and said, I no longer believe, I am an atheist. And that caused a huge, because a lot of people didn't know I was on this journey. So it came as a real shock to a lot of people, especially my African family. But it was a friend on Facebook. She said, I'm going to have to change my name because Esther is a Bible name. And now I'm no longer a Christian. I'll have to give up the name. And she said she's going to she's going to unfollow me so that she doesn't see any of my posts that could shake her faith. That's what she
mhm.
said. It's just ridiculous.
And that's exactly it.
She might end up becoming an atheist down the line, though. Like, the people that most want to cover their eyes and ears to prevent seeing an atheist view, they're already having their own doubts and questions about their faith. Because if you truly have your faith, it would be unshakable, and seeing somebody post an atheist meme is not going to rock you to your core. So if you need to shelter yourself from that, you're already having doubts.
Maya, I want to get to your comment in one moment, but first you mentioned that, yeah, this is an issue with my husband. I've been married for 38 years and I was a Christian when I got married. And so, most people know I was a Christian for 42 years. And so my deconversion a year ago, I did not get a divorce, but my husband, I do not talk about faith at all. I have wanted to talk to him about my not believing, and he's no, I don't want to hear about it. And I truly believe it's because he's afraid. He's afraid I could talk him out of his faith, and he doesn't want to be talked out of his faith. So we just don't talk about that. But I also want to talk about what Maya said. He says, I have enough problems in my life with my whole family harassing me to save my immortal soul every day. Yeah. And that is an issue that a lot of atheists have.
Yes, I've got
My
the same
response,
as well. I've got people that come in my, they come in my inbox and say, there is God. There is definitely God. You have to believe in God. But my question is, which one?
mhm. Well, actually, if I was in Maya's shoes, I'd be saying, well, how do you know you have a soul? What evidence do you have of the soul? Um, Shannon Q has a couple of videos out where she talks about this, and I don't know offhand which one there is. If there's anyone in the chat that knows specifically what video I'm referring to, go ahead and put a link up to it. But she talks about how there's been studies of the brain and how people go through personality changes as a result of traumatic brain injury. And if there is an eternal soul, did that person's soul change because the person's entire personality changed? And if the soul is inside of the brain somewhere, we should be able to see it, and we can't.
That's a very new concept for me about the soul.
Mm.
It's completely new. Realizing it's nothing like a soul. That's completely new, and it's still something I'm very interested to read more and ask, and so there's lots of things to know.
I remember seeing a while back there was a man, I think this was in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. He had done an experiment trying to prove the soul, where he would basically put people that were about to die like on a scale and then try to see if, he could capture when the soul left the body at their moment of death. Um,
Mm.
and from, if I recall correctly, like it couldn't actually be replicated. He was trying to say that, oh, see, I proved the soul because, they got a little bit lighter, when they died, by a teeny tiny bit. But then like there were issues with trying to actually replicate his data. But if I can find the thing that I saw about that, I will share it, because it was fascinating what people thought and how they tried to go about proving things back then.
How long ago was that, Kitty? How long ago was that?
It was a long time ago. I'm trying to
Okay.
pull it up right now. 21 grams experiment was a study published in 1907 by Duncan McDougall, a physician from Haverhill, Massachusetts. He hypothesized that souls have a physical weight and attempted to measure the mass lost by a human when the soul departed the body.
Mm.
So, like I said, I thought it was like late 18, early 1900s. And yeah, it was 1907.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, because we wouldn't have had things like brain scan imaging and stuff like that. Yeah, I heard someone recently saying that the soul is a physical part And I was addressing that in a video that I made, and I said, if the soul is physical, we should be able to check, see it on an MRI. Most people don't say that, though. Most people say that it's just spiritual and it has no physical form. Dealing with people who will not accept you any longer because you don't believe the same as they do is usually the most difficult part of deconverting for most people. Have you had any issues, Esther, with loss of employment or problems with employment as a result?
So I've been very fortunate in the sense that I'm in a position now where whatever I believe doesn't affect an anything, any of my income.
Mm-hmm.
So what I decided to do was make sure that when I decide to go public about this, I'm in a very comfortable place.
Mm.
So whether you accept me or you don't accept me doesn't change anything. And when I got to that point, I I knew, okay, now it's only feelings. You can feel however you feel. Wouldn't change anything, wouldn't take any money out of my pockets. And so I made sure I was at a very comfortable place where, so however you feel about me doesn't change.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that hasn't been an issue for you, because I do know that can be an issue for some people. And as far as the people on Facebook and so forth, yeah, I've seen that too. There's a number of people that unfriended me on Facebook when I came out as an atheist as well, but they were mostly people I wasn't that close to, and so it really didn't matter. The only one that I really was close to, I found out when it was her birthday, and I called her because I always called her every year on her birthday. And when I called her on her birthday, she didn't take my call. And so I went on Facebook to wish her happy birthday and see what was up with her. Maybe she moved, maybe she got a new phone number and I just didn't know. And that's when I saw that she had unfriended me too. And I thought, oh, okay. I wonder if it's because I'm an atheist, or did I say something to offend? I have no idea. She was just gone.
That just sucks, like
It's incredible.
to really like put yourself in that position where it's like you have a lifelong friend, someone you have known years, and you're close to them, and because they don't believe the same as you anymore, now all of a sudden they're dead to you. That's
Right.
horrible.
Yeah.
If if I lived in Nigeria or if I lived in anywhere in Africa, I would not be public about being an atheist. Because I live in the United Kingdom, it's very safe here. And so I can I can be an atheist. I can walk on the road. I'm not afraid. I can go wherever I want. So I'm lucky in that sense. But I realize there are parts of, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Barack Mubarak Bala Mubarak Bala, who is in jail for blasphemy.
Is he in jail for blasphemy in an Islamic country or in a Christian area?
Nigeria
Oh, it's in Nigeria?
is It's in Nigeria, and the part where he is in jail is Islamic.
Okay.
I think they've got the Sharia law there.
Mhm.
It's a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah, that's something that I meant to ask you about was the UK tends to be more accepting than the United States is with regards to atheism, which is kind of funny because the UK actually has, it does not have the church state separation that the United States supposedly has. And yet we are a much more religious society than you are. But on the other hand, there are other societies that are even far more religious than the United States is, and particularly Islamic cultures. And you're right, Islamic cultures, they still have blasphemy laws. They still have, um, you know, so many regulations about what people can and cannot do, um, because of religious rules, especially women.
So I've met people who have never been religious, were never born into a religion, none at all, and they are the nicest people ever. And that got me asking, how are these people so nice? I've got loads of them as neighbors who have never stepped to church or a mosque, but they're so nice. And so it completely threw out this whole morality thing. You know, someone asked me, where do you get your morals from now that you're no longer a Christian? I said, I've got secular morality
Mhm.
because I see people who aren't religious, have never been religious, but are the nice people you can find. So make it make sense to me.
There you go. Inquisitive Quandary said his name is Mubarak Bala. Kitty sent me a link. I don't know if I can put it in the chat or not. Let me see if I can. About someone that, there we go. Let's see, did that show up? There's a link, someone who offered to share the jail term with him, which is an interesting thing to do. Kitty sent me another link here that I'm going to put up.
Sorry, one of them was for a different blasphemy law person, and then I just shared with the name of the person that was just put in chat. It seems like there's more than one person in prison for blasphemy in Nigeria, and that is tragic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think there's about 3 cases at the moment, about 3 cases.
Yeah, one of the things that's so tragic about blasphemy laws is it makes thought a crime. It's, you haven't done anything. You're not thinking the correct thoughts. You're not thinking the thoughts that the government wants you to think. And that's funny because I will
I've got
argue.
a question.
What'd you say?
I've got a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Just, do you think you can help what you believe? Do you think you have a choice what you believe?
No. Oh. You believe what you're convinced of. And because I was convinced that Christianity was true, there wasn't a lot of evidence that convinced me, but I was convinced, and that's why I believed it. And as soon as I was convinced that it was not true, I quit believing it. And all these people who tell me that I have a choice, I ask them, well, can you even choose to believe something? If you wanted to start believing in unicorns. Can you tell yourself unicorns are real and now you believe in unicorns? No, you can't do it. You have to be convinced. There has to be some evidence.
You can delude yourself into believing something, but you can't force it. You can't just flip a switch and be like, I'm going to believe this.
Mm-hmm. And as Stephanie, Epileptic Skeptic, says, you can choose to act as if something is true. And that's what a lot of people accuse me of. Christians now will tell me that I was never a real Christian because a real Christian can't walk away from Christianity. So you obviously were just pretending all those 42 years. And I said, if I was pretending, I was 100% convinced that I was a believer. So if I was so deluded that I believed, even though I didn't really believe, how can anyone know that they're a believer?
So I've got this certificate here, right? So if you look, it says Pathways to Ministry, right? So if someone said that I wasn't a real Christian, and then I got this, I was making my way to becoming a priest with the Church of England. I was at the stage where you get approved for theology school. The path was set. I was going to be a priest. I'd finished this Pathways to Ministry. I knew where I was going. But so if I wasn't a real Christian, how did I get to this point?
Yeah.
They'll claim it's fake.
Inquisitive Quandary says Santa broke God for me. And yeah, I thought of that long ago. And so when I was raising my children, one of the things that I did was I never taught them that Santa was real. I taught them what Santa was and told them that, people believe in Santa, but I always told them that Santa wasn't real. And I did that because I didn't want them to hear me tell them Santa is real, the Easter Bunny is real, the Tooth Fairy is real, God is real. And then 10 years later, when they discover that Santa I should say 6 years later, when they discover that Santa isn't real, the Easter Bunny isn't real, the Tooth Fairy isn't real, are they going to start questioning, is God real? And so I always raised them to believe that none of those things were real so that they would know that when I said this is real, that I meant it. I wasn't trying to pull their legs. My oldest daughter, who is still a believer, does not agree with that approach and did teach her children that Santa is real and let them believe in Santa. And she always felt that she was kind of cheated because she didn't get to go through a period of believing that Santa was real. But whatever, we all have our own decisions on how we're going to raise our kids.
I've actually had conversations with other atheist parents because I'm raising my child without religion, obviously. When he gets older, I'm going to teach him about the religions more from like a world history standpoint. These people believe this, those people believe that. But I do think that, there is a certain magic to childhood. And I personally am taking the path of, Santa, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny. Let him have that little bit of magic. There's enough darkness in the world, but I'm not going to actively lie to him. When he starts questioning, saying, is this real? Then I'll just explain to him, this is just, wanting, that bit of childhood innocence and magic, and that it's more a concept of trying to make something special for young children, that is kind of a tradition that's passed on. And so once he asks me, I'll come clean, and I'm not going to try to keep it going longer than necessary. But I think for now, it's nice to have that little bit of magic. But I know other atheist parents that are like, nope, no Santa, no Tooth Fairy, no God, no nothing. And, that's fine. Like everybody's, like you said, everybody's got their own way. But yeah.
One of the things that I find as an adult looking back on Santa going, how did we ever believe in Santa, and why would we ever want to tell our kids about Santa? Is, Santa's supposedly this guy that brings toys to all the good children, and yet he gives lots of toys to the rich children and very little, if anything, to the poor children. What does Santa have against poverty?
The same thing as the church.
They didn't put enough into the tithe basket, huh? And then Maya brings up a really good point here. She says, I never taught my children about any of the fake beings. I was afraid of Christ being taken out of the holiday and burning in hell for it. I never went that far. I never felt like I would burn in hell for taking Christ out of the holiday. But I also agree, I also was like Maya in that I felt that in celebrating Christmas, we had to keep Christ central. I mean, this was the important thing about the holiday. And that does make Easter a little bit difficult for me, because for me, Easter was the most important day of the year. And what I always served lamb on Easter. I know that's not the traditional Christmas, but our Christian Easter dinner. But to me, it was so symbolic that I served the sacrificed lamb for Easter dinner. And we still have lamb for Easter.
Oh, I love lamb when it's like slow cooked with like rosemary and garlic. Oh, so good. But it's funny, like, Christians, like, they put all this emphasis on Easter and Christmas, but then when you point out to them that they're just repurposed holidays from the pagan calendar, where it's like, oh, decorating a tree, giving gifts, a big feast, a Yule fire, like, a Yule log, like, all of that, pagan. If you point to Easter, it's like, what do bunnies and eggs have to do with a guy getting nailed to a cross? Absolutely nothing. It's the spring fertility festival, and that's
Right.
Bunnies reproduce a lot. Eggs, again, it's all about fertility. Even it went the other way too, because Halloween, what we now call Halloween, is at least in some pagans, it is Samhain. It's spelled like Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain, and it was similar to kind of like Dia de los Muertos, where they thought the veil between this world and the afterlife was thinnest. You'd leave offerings to your ancestors, try to commune with the dead. Well, that always fell on the 31st of October. So the church came in and they're like, well, we can't use Jesus in this one because we've already, got the other two major holidays. So instead, they repurposed it and they made November 1st All Saints Day, or Hallowmas, where you would remember the saints instead of remembering your ancestors. Similar enough that they could try to continue people in the path of conversion and have something somewhat familiar. So then the night before Hallowmas became known as All Hallows Eve, which eventually got bastardized into Halloween. And now it's a commercial holiday about candy and dressing up, but I'm okay with that because Halloween's my favorite holiday.
Mm-hmm. We have a good question here.
Don't say that to Africans. Halloween, no, it's a no. That's devil worship. We're going to celebrate death no. Halloween is a no.
I went through a period like that too. In my as a young adult, I was going to a couple of churches where they said, any celebration of Halloween is celebration of Satan's holiday, and so you shouldn't have anything to do with it. And so for a couple of years, when I attended such churches on Halloween, we would turn off all the lights. My husband and I went out to dinner. And when trick or treat was over, we came back home, and that way we didn't have to participate in it. But yeah, we did go through a period of time when we felt that celebrating Halloween in any way was sacrilegious. This was an offense to God. I've called you Rose before because it's easier than try to Rose Marinio officialis. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. So please, I hope it's Rose and not Roz. And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, let me know. But this is a good question. Did the three of you have a tree with all the trimmings? And the answer is, growing up, I always did, but I was raised in a secular home. And I was absolutely shocked when I first found out as a young adult that the Bible actually tells you not to have a Christmas tree. There is a specific passage in the Bible where it says, do not put up a tree and put decorations on it. And that's like, why do we do this with the Bible? Rosemary. Okay, thank you. Rosemary, the Bible specifically says not to do this. And yet, yes, when I was a Christian, we always had the tree with all of the trimmings. How about you, Esther?
Okay, Granny, you need to know what passage of the Bible that is. I don't think I've seen that. But yes, the answer to that question is yes. Every year, bring out the tree. We have the bubbles, we have the decorations, yes. But it's changed now. It's now a holiday, just time to spend with the family, and that's it.
How about you, Kitty?
Oh yeah, it was always a thing the day after Thanksgiving. We would go and pick out our Christmas tree, and we had all of our special ornaments. Like there were some ornaments that, anyone could put on, but like each person had their own individual collection, like with different, say, like Disney princess ornaments, or ones that we made in Girl Scouts when we were kids. So we would always put on our own ornaments to the tree. And Christmas was always really big for my mom, but especially she especially like dove into it as a coping mechanism, because when I was 6 years old, my grandmother on Thanksgiving was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, and she passed away the day after Christmas that same year. It was quick, and my mom losing her mom, when she's in roughly her 30s, it was really, really hard on her. And so she made it a point that whether, we had a lot of money that year or not, because, we had ups and downs when I was growing up. There were times that we had lots of money. My dad, had a very lucrative job. And then, there were times when things were a bit leaner, and she would scrimp and save all year, do layaways, buy things that she would hide in like hiding places all over the house, because she wanted to make sure every year that we had a special Christmas. And I mean, my family has actually lost six family members between like in the Christmas area. Like in just the 2 weeks between my birthday and New Year's, we've lost 5 family members and someone else as well. So like a lot of loss, and a lot of them are, 2 were the day after Christmas, but years apart, and then the 30th of December, New Year's, there's a lot of loss in that time of the year. So my family just focuses on family time and making it special for the kids. Like ever since my son and my niece were born, like us adults, we don't really do much for gifts for each other, maybe a small token item, but we all just spend all the money on the kids and make it as special for them as possible.
That's nice. That's a good family tradition. Esther, you were asking about the Bible passage with regard to the trees. It's in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 4, where it says, "Hear what the Lord says to you, people of Israel. This is what the Lord says. Do not learn the ways of the nations or be terrified by the signs of the heavens, though the nations are terrified by them. For the practices of the peoples are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with a chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with a hammer and nails so it will not totter. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber field, their idols cannot speak." So, yeah, the Bible does have a passage that pretty much says that we shouldn't have Christmas trees. That's one of the things that I find so funny about Christians is that they emphasize the parts of the Bible that they want, and then they de-emphasize the parts that they don't want.
When we want to collect the tithes and offering. And they go to, that's their go-to. Thou shalt not rob God. Every other time, focus on the God of the New Testament. But then I keep asking, is the God of the Old Testament the same as the one in the New Testament? And if the answer is yes, at what point, where did the transition take place from the monster in the Old Testament and the lamb in the New?
Yeah, that is a big question. How did God change so much as if he's supposed to be this unchanging God? There's supposed to be different aspects of one person, which brings up another question. If God is supposed to be eternal, how can he die? If Jesus died on the cross, did God die? And everyone will say, well, no, it was just Jesus. Well, then Jesus didn't really sacrifice his life. If God didn't die and Jesus knew before he went to the cross that he wasn't going to die, then he had a bad weekend.
Essentially.
He had a really bad weekend. He went through hell, but he knew he was coming out, and there was no real sacrifice there. Maya's right. Maya says blood magic spell. Yep, and that's all it was, the spell.
Blood magic of a death cult. I mean, Christianity essentially worships the death of Jesus, even though it wasn't, like you say, a real death. But I mean, like, it is so much focused on the afterlife, the death of Jesus, So yeah, blood magic, death cult. Like, that's Christianity in a nutshell.
And the symbol of Christianity is a symbol of torture. I mean, could you imagine someone coming to you with a guillotine and saying, try my new religion, isn't it great? No, thank you.
I saw a meme that it was basically like Jesus came back and he basically bitched at people for wearing crosses. He's like, you think JFK would want to see a bunch of guns around, like, for people trying to memorialize him? Like, what the hell, man?
Well, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes now. So I want to start kind of wrapping things up a little bit, but before we do, Esther, I want you to give a chance to tell people about your channel, and there is a link to Esther's channel in the description to this video. And I do want to encourage everyone to please go and subscribe to Esther. She needs a welcome from the community, and so if you can all go and subscribe to her and give a couple of her videos a watch. I'm sure she would appreciate it greatly. And Esther, tell us about your channel and what you do there and what kind of content you have there.
So it's still fairly new, and most of the things that my plan is to talk about the ills of religion, and specifically African Christianity, and how destructive, and how, if we let it carry on the way it is going, I don't know, I don't see a future for a lot of people. And it bothers me where a pastor owns 4 private jets and still expects, I mean, Nigeria has been, I think, 2 years in a row, Nigeria has been the poverty capital of the world. But yet, there are churches in every corner of the street. The pastors are the richest, but the members are the poorest. There's something wrong with that. And that's the thing I want to focus on. At first, I was thinking, oh, I'll talk about fake pastors. Oh, but no, there's something wrong with this religion. And African people need to wake up and realize that they are special. And this was a religion what was given to them. Christianity wasn't their religion originally. And they've taken it, they've watered it down, they've mixed it with the culture, and now it's just a mess. It is a mess. And people are asking the hard questions. Why? Where? What? Where? And that's why I started my channel.
Okay, very good. And if you want to see more of what Esther has to say, go and give her channel a watch. You've put out quite a few videos for someone who's only been up for what, 2 months now? You haven't been up for very long, but you've got a lot of videos out for someone who's been up for as long as you have. Kitty, who would you like to shill for?
Honestly, I want to, show for the African Humanist. She's absolutely lovely. We chatted, before the show. So please go consume her content. Let's try to get her to, 1,000. Like that'll be the goal for this year. We try to get her to at least 1,000 subs. So, like, share, like, this is something that I feel should be spoken about more, especially from someone who's seen it firsthand. Like I've always wondered about that, about, Africans and African Americans, and how, they are so like devoted to Christianity when it was something that was used to literally erase their culture, to erase their traditions. And I don't know, it's always bothered me because it would be, my ancestors, people that look like me, that basically erased their culture with their beliefs. And it saddens me because I don't even know how much of it has been lost and might never be able to be recovered. But, having a voice, having someone like speak about things like that and really shine the light on that, because it's something that I've often wondered. It's how can you devote yourself so much to this thing that was imposed on you, and I never understood it. And so it's nice to, again, see somebody that has that lived experience talking about things like that, and just the harm that outside religion has done to the people and to the culture.
Thank you, Kitty. And for what I've got coming up right soon, I'm not even sure what I'm going to be doing next week as far as live stream, but I will go back to my regular time at 7 p.m. And this week I'm working on a video with regards to the prison system. And it's not a reaction video. It's just me talking about how religion affects our ideas with regards to the prison system. And I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. It's one that's very difficult to research. And so it may, I usually try to get my videos out on Thursday or Friday. This one may take me a little bit longer to get together because that, and I really want to watch the inauguration tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a big day of celebration here in the United States. We are finally getting rid of the orange blob.
Can't call him Twitler anymore because he doesn't have a Twitter. And so we'll just, I'll go back to Mingo Mussolini. Like, just shoot, be gone with you.
And thank you to everyone in the chat that has come. Thank you for all of your comments. Thank you for your questions. And once again, please go and subscribe to the African Humanist and make her feel welcome in our community. Bye.